Division, Utilities Board, the Governor's Office, Terrace Hill, the Office of Drug Control Policy, Human Rights, the Department of Inspections and Appeals, and the Department of Revenue. Let me first...
Senator, just is far too much noise. Please take your conversations to the lounge. Senator, you are in order.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, let me just thank the other senators who also serve on this budget committee, Senators Danielson, Bowman, Ernst, and Bartz. And a special thank you to Senator Bartz for at least trying to help to soften up some of the sharper edges on our House counterpart side. The original budget target for the Senate was met last April, and it was at $53.3 million, which was about $303,000 less than the governor's proposed budget in January. Of course, since then, the governor has agreed to reduce his own budget by about $162 million, and this, of course, triggered additional cuts. The budget bill before you today is $700,000, or about 12% less than our original budget. It is now spending about $52.6 million. Our proposed budget is, listen to this please, $123,262 below the House omnibus budget bill for this particular budget. But we were able to do in this budget is to retain what the Senate considered our top priorities in the department, in the administration and regulation budget. And that includes protecting abused and neglected children through the court-appointed Special Advocates Program, also known as CASA, the Foster Care Review Boards. These programs, as you know, recruit, train, and support community volunteers throughout the entire state of Iowa to represent the interests of neglected and abused children. We also retain funding for those who provide a voice and advocacy for those in our society who are, unfortunately, still very marginalized. And finally, and the House did agree with us on this, and that is providing an additional $650,000 from the Medicaid Fraud Fund so that we can hire additional inspectors for nursing homes, residential care facilities, and compliance officers who prosecute Medicaid abuse and fraud. The budget before you also does one more thing. It reduces the number of FTEs by 33. Now, because this budget seems to kind of span all of state government, I also asked Fiscal Bureau to give me some numbers, and it seems to be quite appropriate considering the debate on the previous bill. What has happened to FTEs in state government? Over the past 3 years, between government reorganization and the decline in our revenues because of the Great Recession that started under President Bush, the number of FTEs in state government has been reduced by 1,497. In 2010, state government had 888 fewer FTEs than we had in 2001. Now, my point in saying all this is that at some point there really is diminishing returns. When we ask workers to do the work of 2 or 3 people, productivity drops, more mistakes are made. It's not about whether government is bigger or smaller. It's whether or not we have employees who can truly create a government service that is responsive to the needs of the people of this state for whom they were hired to serve. The Senate bill continues to appropriate funding from the Medicaid Fraud Fund for investigations for dependent adult abuse, electronic benefit transfers, boarding home investigations. I'm sure many of you still remember at Alyssa. Medicaid fraud and abuse, which is, of course, required by the federal government. The House, unfortunately, does not do that. Funding decreases in this budget were in primarily 5 different areas. So let me tell you where those are coming from. We have reorganized or transferred the duties and responsibility of the Governor's Office of Drug Control Policy to the Department of Public Safety and the Department of Public Health for a savings of $326 million. Now, that's not to say that we don't value or think that that office was doing good work. Of course we do. But we were asked to reduce our budget by $700,000. And at the same time, members, the governor did ask us for an additional appropriation for his own budget. For me, it was a $66,000 increase, or about $11,000 over his original budget request last January. And we were also asked by the Department of Management to increase their budget by $260,000 over the original request. Our original budget had in the line item for Department of Management the original request. We are now $260,000 above that. We had to find money to pay for those services or those requests. Department Administrative Services has been reduced by $297,000. Alcohol beverages, $159,000. Department of Revenue, $100,000. And we have reduced the administration line item for Department of Inspections and Appeals by about $83,000. So they are now at they were at 1.6. They are now at 1.537, which is about $5 less than what the House Omnibus Budget Bill has appropriated. I want to make one thing very clear. In spite of reducing the administration line item and the Department of Department of Inspections and Appeals by 0.5%, we are still expecting them to hire the 10 nursing home investigators, the 3 investigators for residential care facilities. Folks, we currently have 2 investigating 250 facilities in this state that provide services and housing for persons with disabilities. And we still expect them to hire the compliance officers. In addition to the general fund appropriation that the Department of Inspections and Appeals receives, this budget also appropriates $3.6 million to that department from other funds for fraud and abuse. The Senate bill is still, for Department of Inspections and Appeals, $262,000 higher than the bill the House sent to us. So, that's the summary of the bill before you. We believe it retains our priorities and reflects our values. And with that, Mr. President, I would entertain any questions.